Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be talking about Bryson DeChambeau's golf swing.
Oh, yeah,
And we're really going to break it down using some really cool AI analysis.
that's right. We're going to be looking at a swing score report from Sportsbox AI,
Wow.
and it uses biomechanical and kinematic data
Okay.
to really kind of dissect what's going on with a golfer's swing.
Now, I've seen DeChambeau play,
Yeah.
and this guy is a
Oh,
powerhouse
he is.
on the course.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really curious to see what the data tells us about his technique.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly a swing score report?
So basically, it's a detailed analysis.
Okay.
It breaks down a golfer's swing into three key areas: speed, efficiency, and consistency.
Gotcha.
And these scores are derived from a bunch of different data points related to things like body movement, club speed, and impact.
Okay, so it's like a super detailed
Yeah.
report card for your
Yeah,
swing.
it is.
And the cool thing is
Yeah.
we can compare DeChambeau's data to pro standards. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Cool. It gives us a benchmark to see where he excels
Right.
and where there might be some room for improvement.
Awesome.
So are you ready to see DeChambeau's scores?
Absolutely. Hit me with it.
All right, so first up, his overall score is a 92.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. That puts him in that optimal range, pretty close to a perfect score.
92. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, what about his speed?
Well, get this. His speed score is a 99.
Oh, wow.
Which puts him above the 99th percentile of all the tour data they have.
A 99. That's just insane.
It's incredible.
I knew he was fast,
Yeah.
but that puts it into perspective.
It does.
Does this mean he's like sacrificing everything else for speed?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
He's also got an efficiency score of 92,
Okay.
which means his movement sequences are incredibly effective.
Okay.
So he's not just like muscling the ball, he's using his body
Yeah.
in a very coordinated and powerful way.
Okay, so we got the speed, we got the efficiency. What about consistency? That's got to be important too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Consistency is huge, and his consistency score is a bit lower at 86,
Okay.
which is still good.
Yeah.
But it indicates there might be some inconsistencies there,
Yeah.
particularly in his address and transition phases.
Okay, so even Bryson DeChambeau
Yeah.
has areas he can tweak.
Everybody's got areas they can tweak,
Now, I'm dying to know more about the specifics of
Yeah.
his swing.
right?
Where do we even begin to unpack all this data?
Well, let's start by looking at his rotation.
Okay.
So we're talking about how much he twists his chest and pelvis
Mm-hmm.
during his swing.
Okay.
These are crucial for generating power.
Okay, so how much are we talking about here?
I mean, it's a lot.
Does he just wind up like a top?
Pretty much. So his chest rotation is 112 degrees.
Wow.
Now, to put that in perspective,
Yeah.
most tour players fall within a range of 80 to 100 degrees.
Okay, so he's really pushing
He's pushing it, yeah.
the limits of that rotation. What about his pelvis?
His pelvis rotation is 54 degrees, which is also above average.
Hmm.
Now, when we talk about rotation, we also have to mention the X factor.
Oh, X factor.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. What is that?
So the X factor is the difference between the rotation of the chest and the pelvis at the top of the backswing.
Okay.
Think of it like winding up a spring.
Yeah.
The bigger the difference, the more potential energy you store up.
Right.
And DeChambeau's X factor is a whopping 68 degrees,
Wow.
which is significantly larger than what you see with most other players.
Okay.
This huge differential really helps explain how he generates so much power.
Wow. So he's basically turning his upper and lower body in opposite directions to create this massive coil.
It's like a rubber band, yeah.
No wonder he hits the ball so far.
Exactly.
This is fascinating.
And remember, he's not just rotating.
Yeah.
He's rotating with incredible speed.
Okay.
His chest rotation speed is 961 degrees per second. To put that in perspective, the average tour player is somewhere between 600 and 800 degrees per second.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So all this rotation translates to crazy club head speed then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
We're talking about a club shaft speed of 2,495 degrees per second.
Holy cow.
Way above the tour average.
I'm trying to picture that kind of speed.
Yeah,
It's got to be just a blur.
it's got to be.
Where does all that speed even come from? Is it pure strength?
Well, strength plays a big role,
Okay.
especially core strength.
Okay.
His core activation, which basically measures how much he's engaging his core muscles during the swing,
Right.
is 18.2%.
Wow.
That's significantly higher than what we typically see in pro golfers.
So it's not just swinging his arms,
Right,
he's
yeah.
using his entire core to power that rotation.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It is.
But we did mention earlier that his consistency score wasn't quite as high.
Yeah.
What does the data tell us about that?
Let's move on to his sequencing and release and see where that might come into play. One of the things that stands out is his sequencing score of 100,
Oh.
meaning his movements are incredibly efficient,
Right.
but his release score is a bit lower at 39.
Hmm.
So while his movement is very efficient leading up to the hit,
Right.
there might be something happening during his release
Yeah.
that's affecting his consistency.
What could be causing that?
Well, the data suggests there's room for improvement in his wrist angles and release rate, his wrist speed gain factor,
Okay.
which basically measures how much his wrists accelerate through impact,
Okay.
was 1.93, which is on the lower end.
So even though he's got all this power and efficiency built up,
Right.
it seems like he's not getting the most out of it at the moment of impact.
Exactly. It's like having a powerful engine,
Yeah.
but not being able to fully utilize all that horsepower.
This is getting really interesting.
It is, isn't it?
So we've got a pretty good understanding now of DeChambeau's strengths and weaknesses.
We do.
But what does all this mean for his performance on the course?
Right.
How can he use this data to improve?
That's a great question, and that's something we'll be exploring in detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome.
We'll look at the practical implications of these findings, not just for DeChambeau, but for any golfer out there looking to improve their swing.
I can't wait.
It's going to be good.
So we've seen that Bryson DeChambeau has got this incredibly powerful swing,
Oh, yeah.
but there's potential for even more consistency
Right.
if he can kind of optimize his release.
Exactly.
It's really fascinating to me how we can use this data to actually improve his game.
Yeah.
It's not just about looking at numbers.
Yeah.
It's about turning those numbers into like
Actionable, yeah.
actionable insights.
Yeah.
Where do we even start?
Well, I think
Yeah.
first we got to address the elephant in the room,
Mhm.
that incredible rotation.
Right.
It's clearly a major strength
Okay.
and something that he can leverage even further.
How do you coach someone who's already pushing the boundaries of rotation? Where do you go from 112 degrees of chest rotation?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily about adding more degrees.
Right.
It's about maximizing the efficiency and the power of that rotation.
Okay.
So think about targeted exercises that focus on mobility and strengthen the hips, the thoracic spine.
Okay.
We're talking about improving the flexibility and the stability of those muscles involved in the rotation.
So it's like a specialized workout routine
Exactly.
designed to enhance those specific movements.
Precisely. By increasing his range of motion and strengthening the muscles responsible for rotation,
Right.
he could potentially generate even more speed and power, but in a controlled and sustainable way.
That's pretty incredible, like fine-tuning a high-performance engine.
Exactly.
But what about his release? We talked about that could be holding him back a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that something that could be addressed with training as well?
Absolutely. Think of it this way.
Yeah.
He's got all this energy stored up
Okay.
from his backswing,
Yeah.
but he's not fully transferring it to the ball at impact. It's like having a powerful engine,
Yeah.
but not being able to shift into the highest gear.
So how do you improve that gear shift, so to speak?
I think one area to focus on would be his wrist angles and release rate.
Okay.
There were specific drills
Yeah.
that can help him improve his wrist cock and the timing of his release.
Okay.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Right?
where he can release all that stored energy in a smooth and explosive manner.
It seems like there's a lot more to a golf swing than meets the eye.
Oh, there is. There's a reason why people dedicate their lives to mastering this sport.
Right.
But the beauty of this kind of analysis is that it gives us a deeper understanding of the mechanics involved.
Yeah.
It's like having a blueprint
Mm-hmm.
that we can use to identify areas for improvement, not just for Bryson DeChambeau, but for any golfer.
That's what I think's so exciting about this.
Yeah.
This data-driven approach
Yeah.
could revolutionize the way golfers train and improve.
I agree.
It's like having a personal swing coach right in your pocket. But is this something that only elite players like DeChambeau can benefit from? Or can everyday golfers apply these insights as well?
I believe these insights can benefit golfers at all levels.
Okay.
Obviously, the training regimens would be tailored to the individual's skill level and goals.
Right.
But the underlying principles remain the same.
Right.
For example, most amateur golfers don't utilize their core nearly as much as they could.
Interesting.
By focusing on improving their rotation, they could see significant gains in distance and consistency.
So it's not about trying to copy DeChambeau's swing exactly. It's more about understanding those principles behind it.
Exactly. It's about using data to inform our practice and make smarter decisions about how we train and how we play.
I love that, like taking a more scientific approach to something that's often seen as an art form.
It is, yeah.
But could focusing too much on the mechanics
Yeah,
take away from the feel and the creativity of the game?
that's a great question and a valid concern.
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember that data is a tool, not a rule book.
Okay.
It's there to inform our decisions,
Right.
not dictate them.
Right.
So you don't want to let it stifle your creativity or your love for the game.
So it's not a replacement for feel, it's like a complement to it.
Exactly. You want to use both your head and your heart to play your best game.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe by embracing this data-driven approach,
Yeah,
we can all unlock a little bit of that Bryson DeChambeau magic
maybe so.
in our own swings.
That would be great.
Welcome back. We've been on quite the journey exploring DeChambeau's swing.
It has been really interesting.
I mean, I gotta say, I'm really impressed with how much we can learn from
Yeah.
just these data points.
It is amazing what we can uncover with technology like this.
It feels like we're seeing a big shift in the golf world, this movement towards a more data-driven approach. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways you think our listeners should remember?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that importance of rotation.
Okay.
We saw how DeChambeau generates just incredible power
Right.
through his, exceptional rotation speed.
Right.
And that's fueled by his core strength.
Right.
And that's something that, any golfer can work on regardless of their skill level.
I always thought of golf as being about arm strength, but
Yeah.
seeing DeChambeau's data really highlights the importance of the core.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about using your whole body to generate that power.
But even with all that power, we saw that there's room for improvement,
Yeah.
especially with his release.
That's right.
What advice would you give to golfers who want to optimize their release?
Focus on the little things.
Okay.
Wrist angles,
Yeah.
release timing,
Yeah.
that transition from the backswing to the downswing.
Right.
There are drills and exercises that can really help improve those specific things
Right.
and ultimately lead to a smoother, more explosive release.
So it's not just about hitting the gym and getting stronger.
It's not just about brute force.
It's about that finesse and precision.
Exactly.
This has really opened my eyes to the science behind the golf swing.
Yeah.
It's so cool how we can break down something so complex into these data points.
Right.
But is there a danger in overanalyzing things?
That's a question that comes up a lot.
Yeah.
It's a valid one.
Could focusing too much on mechanics take away from the joy and the spontaneity of playing?
I think the important thing to remember is that data is a tool.
Oh,
It's not a rule book.
right.
It's there to inform our decisions, not to dictate them.
Right. It shouldn't stifle your creativity or your love for the game.
Exactly.
So it's really about finding that sweet spot between the data-driven insights and just intuitive feel.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the DeChambeau's swing,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Could focusing on these biomechanical elements, like we saw DeChambeau's emphasis on rotation, be the key to unlocking more power and more consistency in our own golf swings?
That's a great question. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be analyzing their swings.
That's right.
And uncovering their hidden potential.
I love that. That's what's so exciting about all this. There's always more to learn, more to explore,
Always.
and more ways to get better.
Exactly.
So keep learning, keep practicing,
Yeah.
and most importantly, keep having fun out there on the course.
Well said.